Hello and welcome to another episode of Tudor, I Hardly Know Her. I am one of your hosts, and my name is Garrett.
I'm another of your hosts, and my name's Emily.
And I'm the guy who sits in the back and just makes random comments. And I'm Jeffrey.
He's also a host. He just doesn't have his picture on the logo.
Nope.
Do you want your picture on the logo?
I don't need it. I'll be fine.
Do you want your picture on the logo?
Not really. I don't want to have that extra work have to be done.
Judy, could you draw Jeff just kind of creeping like a little Kilroy graffiti, just like over the...
Oh, man. What if we did like that image of Nicolas Cage where like the "you don't say" meme? Just me in the
I like
background.
that.
Or make it really subtle, like a little pin of Jeffrey on like my shirt.
So
Anyway.
guys,
So, Emily, what have we got in store for today?
we've got a lot in store for today. So first of all, I think you should know that right now I'm talking to another blogger. Her name is Katie, and
Hi, Katie.
She and her buddy Nathan host a podcast called Queens, and it's awesome.
Wait, do we have a rival?
No, she's not a rival. Look, here's the way I think it. Like, people who like history podcasts, they're not going to choose one over the other. Like, they're not going to be like, I only want to listen to one.
No, it's always a fight. We're going to have a rumble.
Well, can we
Go
rumble?
down the street, snapping our fingers.
I want to be the Sharks. They can be the Jets. And FYI, Katie and Nathan are going to guest host an episode with us.
Awesome.
So I'm super excited. Their podcast is the Queen's Podcast, and it's hilarious. They only have a couple episodes out, but it's so funny. It talks about great queens of history. It doesn't go in order because that could get boring and chaotic, but they've talked about Jane Grey, who you know I love, and they've done Catherine of Aragon, a 2-part series, and then also queens like Cleopatra. So fun stuff is coming our way, guys.
Here's a real kicker. Does Nathan actually know what he's talking about, or is he like me where he's clueless?
No, they both know what they're talking about, but the hilarious
I
thing
need to
is
step
like,
my game up.
so here's the thing is no, their dynamic works for them and our dynamic works for us. So in their podcast, they pick drinks that are tied into their topic. So they had like a pomegranate mixed drink when they did Catherine of Aragon because her badge was the pomegranate. And they drank wine for Cleopatra because this is what I learned from their podcast. The Egyptians had the word for wine before they had the word for vine, which is how you grow the grapes, right? So, no, you should check it out. It's really, really funny. And I'm super, super, super excited to have them guest host. So,
It'll be a great time.
It's going to be a fab time. It will be fab. So today we are going to talk about Henry VIII's castles and castleesses.
All right.
I'm not drunk. Henry's castles and palaces. And it sounds a little bit boring, but I swear to God, it'll all be worth it at the end because I have the best Henry VIII facts I've ever had. And I have 2 of them, and I'm trying to decide which one you need to hear today. It's a goddamn delight. So, are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Go for it.
Are you ready, though? Are you truly prepared for learning about the palaces and castles?
Learn me on some castles, Emily.
I'm ready to be learned.
Get learnt.
Ugh. Hashtag get learnt.
Hey, by the way, I got some compliments from somebody who found our Facebook page, and by the way, first of all, he's from the Netherlands, so we're going even more international. But he also really likes our pun names, and he really loved Henry VIII. So, because that was my joke, I'm taking that and just wearing that Henry VIII crown for the rest of my life. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I know Jeff is really interested in the construction of these places because it is kind of mind-boggling to think about these giant dwellings being made in that time period without like jigsaws and like real not weapons. You don't build a house using a weapon without using real tools. So,
Well, especially when you've told me in the past how they would have like secret entrances around the castle and everything.
I mean, they were usually in Henry VIII's room so he could slip it to his mistress. So, do you guys want to hear? Okay, I'm going to start with just like a rundown of some of his castles because when he died, he owned 55 different palaces.
Holy hell! I thought they all just had like maybe one, maybe like a summer home, but
Oh, Gare,
like
no.
55.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby, no.
Well, you had to send all those, ex-wives and children somewhere.
There was like a head per palace. He's like, well, that was Anne Boleyn's house, so her head is currently lodged on that gate.
Her head has a better living quarters than I do.
No, Gara, they had lots. Now, I was trying to find out how many Henry VII owned because there was kind of a boon in construction in Henry VIII's time, and I'll explain why in a little bit, but I couldn't find anything that said how many Henry VII owned, but I'm pretty sure Henry VIII kind of had a lot. He was super passionate about building. Like it was really fun. He was like, I like building buildings and beheading wives. Like those are my hobby. That's his Tinder profile. What are you into? Building stuff, beheading bitches.
All right, that's the next thing we got to make.
Henry the Eighth's Tudor profile or Tinder profile. Tudor profile. Yeah, I'm gonna make that happen. I don't know how, but it'll happen. So
actually, this reminds me of something. Keep the show going, but I'm gonna try and find this. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay, so his lodgings consisted of castles, palaces, larger houses, lesser houses, hunting lodges, confiscated houses, monastic conversions, and defensive fortresses. Do you guys know the difference between a castle and a palace?
Isn't one more like a fortress, kind of like?
Castle
idea?
is for defense.
That's what I always thought
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
If my 11th grade French memory serves correct, we did a whole piece on castles.
Well, yeah,
because
when I hear the word palace, I think of looks more like an actual home, a really huge home, and then a castle. I think of like the things are designed for
like
defense and being attacked and resistance.
Yeah, like they had the
towers, the
towers
watchtowers, the different
the parts
windows
at the
for
top,
shooting
like,
arrows through.
Castles were Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Palaces were Versailles. In case you want a visual. The castle of What's wrong? Are you okay? No, that's what it says. It's the castle of Why does it say Sorry. So of those 55 places, there are only 2 surviving for various reasons.
I did find what I was looking for. So finish with what's that?
All right, there are only 2 surviving: Hampton Court and St. James Place.
So out of 56 places, or
55.
55 castles and palaces,
and palaces and hunting lodges and
only
and
2
lesser
survived.
houses. But I
what
think
do
that
you
might
mean
be
by
the
survive?
palaces.
Like they're still like they're not in states of disrepair, or they haven't completely crumbled, or
no, I mean like surviving, like existing.
Okay, they're all torn down.
I think what it meant was that palaces, it was the only 2 surviving palaces that you could go in and see Tudor stuff in.
Okay.
There's one like Hatfield House is still there, but none of the original Tudor stuff is there.
Because a lot of castles are not always like, oh, this big museum. There's some that are actually still like owned by people and
yes,
have they have updated and they actually livable.
Yeah.
So what I was looking for,
Yeah.
I found it.
What was it?
So it is a game on mobile phones called Reigns.
Yeah.
It is $3, and what the game is you play as a king, like a somebody in power, and you're given a series of choices and like a deck of cards.
Yeah.
And you see what each situation is all about, and you swipe left or right.
Yeah.
So, and you make choices about how to rule as a king or queen, however you do it, just by swiping left or right, kind of like Tinder. That's why I thought of that, because we said Tinder.
Oh.
So, and it seems pretty interesting. It's got a...
Wait. So since you plugged the game, does that mean they have to give us money now?
Rain's the game, now available on iOS.
Please send me money.
I'll check
Please
the
give me money.
mailbox. I'll wait.
But yeah, this does look pretty interesting. I think I might download it and then give a review on it.
And then they really have to give us money.
Then they really have to give... No, that's wrong, Emily.
It is. I
You don't
agree.
get paid for reviews.
I agree.
Nope. I'll take any kind of bribery for a review.
No, we.
Want me to like a movie? Any check will do very well.
That explains the 2 good reviews that Batman vs Superman got.
Oh.
Back to castles.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
No, it's
Continue on,
fine.
Emily.
So I'm gonna name some of the castles and palaces that were well known, and I've got some interesting info about each of them. So I'll start with just kind of a general rundown. So there was Windsor Castle, which is still standing, and it's still used as a royal residence, I believe. I'm 90% sure it's still used as a royal residence. There's Whitehall Palace, none such palace, which we've talked about before.
Because there is none such palace like it.
Yep.
I
Henry
listen
probably
to the
thought
show.
So punny.
he thought he was so funny when he wrote that.
I actually have a quick question about kings and palaces and whatnot.
Yeah.
So was there like a head palace or castle that all kings lived in?
No.
Like if you were the king, you had to live in that one, and that was the
No.
main castle?
Nope. And I actually have that written down. I plan on telling why they have so many and how they made the moves in a little bit. So there was
Okay.
also Hampton.
I'm getting ahead of us.
That's okay. There's Hampton Court Palace, Eltham, St. James Palace, Hatfield, Westminster Abbey, Greenwich, and another one that Lambeth Palace.
Is it Greenwich or Greenwich?
Greenwich. Greenwich is different. It's Greenwich.
Word.
Yeah, word. Okay, so let's start with Windsor Castle. So that one's pretty cool because it's been around since William the Conqueror's time. And it's the oldest and largest occupied castle in Britain. That's where Anne Boleyn was ennobled because Henry VIII needed to kind of make her look a little bit... I mean, she wasn't noble, so she couldn't really meet the King of France before they were married. So he had to do it so that she could, like, socially be acceptable. Didn't really work. That's also where Anne waited for her confinement while she was pregnant with Elizabeth. I forgot to talk about the Tower of London. So, what do you know about the Tower of London, Gare?
That's where people were held and kept.
Yes,
Waiting execution.
Except until Henry VII's reign, until Henry VII's reign, it was used as a residence, one of the primary residencies of the royal family.
It looks much smaller than I thought it would.
The tower?
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason I can only picture like the actual prisoner portion of it, but no, it was used as a residence, and then Henry VII's wife, Elizabeth of York, she died there, and after her death, it was not used very often as a residence. Anne Boleyn stayed in there the night before her coronation, and like she had these sumptuous apartments made up, and then she was put in those same apartments right before she was executed because Henry sucks. He's like, hey, remember when everything was awesome? Well, it's not now. So there was also so Whitehall Palace. So you know how we've talked about Cardinal Wolsey, Dr. Grant. So Dr. Grant had like a shit ton of money. For those of you who don't know why we're calling him Dr. Grant, in the show The Tudors, he's played by the same actor who played Alan Grant in Jurassic Park.
Sam Neill.
Thank you. So Cardinal Wolsey apparently had a shit ton of money, and he was like, hey, I'm going to make my house baller. And then Henry was like, well, I'm kind of jealous. And so he kind of guilted Wolsey into giving it to him. So it was in the heart of London, and he decorated it lavishly, and it actually rivaled Lambeth Palace, which was another one of Henry's. And so he kind of was like, I'm gonna try and suggest that you give this to me. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't quite right for those societal times for a cardinal, a prince of the church, to have a place that rivaled the King of England. So that place had 1,500 rooms, which is pretty crazy. That was one of the biggest ones.
So I was looking up things about Tower of London, and then I got on a little bit of a Google hole, and apparently that place is haunted.
Gare, the tower. Of course. I'm going to talk about some places that are... Hold on.
Well, but say the tower in Doctor Who is the office of the head of unit.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the tower is probably super freaking haunted.
Well, didn't they find like the remains of supposedly those missing kids?
They did find remains there. The princes of the tower, we think it is, but...
Oh, Emily, let's go.
Garrett, stop. I have so many people talking to me about going to London. It's killing me. We can't go to London. We're going to Disney. So Whitehall Palace is where Henry married both Anne Boleyn and Jane Seymour. And it doesn't exist anymore. It was destroyed by a fire in 1698. So that sucks.
Sad.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Nonsuch, because I love the beginning and end of Nonsuch Palace. So Henry started work on it in 1538, and I don't mean actually Henry. He sent his people out there to work on it. And it didn't get completed during his reign. I think it was completed during Edward's reign. And it cost £104 million in current currency in 2009
okay.
anyway.
I thought you were about to say that's how much it was cost made back then. I'm like,
it was like £24,000 back then.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So here's why Nonsuch Palace doesn't exist anymore. In the 1600s, there was a king named Charles II, and he had a mistress whom he loved, who gave him lots of babies, and she sucked at gambling. So he gave her the house, and she razed it to the ground and sold everything in it to pay her gambling debts.
Wonderful.
So that was 1682. And it was built to kind of rival. Oh no. So during Charles' reign, it was supposed to rival French palaces. So it kind of lost all of its Tudor charm anyway. I might be thinking of another one, but either way, it's gone. Doesn't matter. Before it was razed to the ground, Mary I sold it. And then it came back to the royals in the 1590s.
Do they have many? I don't know if they did do paintings or images of these palaces or castles back then.
Nonsuch Palace, I think, was only recently discovered, and during World War I, when they were digging trenches out, they found pottery, and that kind of led to the discovery of, oh, hey, look at this.
Huh.
Look at this.
Because I was just thinking about that. It's really, you always hear about the palaces and castles. Yeah. There's no photography back then, and a lot of times paintings were more used for portraits rather than for buildings.
I think there are 3 images of what it would have looked like, but one of them was from the middle 1600s.
See, that's probably one of the saddest things about a lot of these old architectures.
Oh, it kills me.
It'd be great to see what they looked like actually back in their prime, rather than just what this is what we think it looks like from an artist rendition.
Yeah, I would love to see. Even the ones that are standing, there's so little Tudor originality of it left.
That's how I am for a lot. I'm a huge fan of ancient Roman history. There's so many old buildings out in Rome that I would love to see what it looked like.
I found a 3D model. Somebody replicated what I guess they think Nonsuch Palace looked like.
Yeah.
pretty snazzy.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Interestingly enough, it was one of the smaller ones, and it was meant to be used as like a private palace, not like a place for the whole court to go to.
They had whole wild parties there?
No, no. Okay, so there was also Hampton Court Palace, and this is one of the main residencies of Henry VIII.
The Hampton Inn.
It was the Hampton Inn. They were the rivals to the Hilton family. Paris Hilton's family goes back to the Tudor times, guys. She's a rival claimant to the throne of England. So that one was also built by Wolsey, starting in 1515. And then when Wolsey went into disgrace, Henry was like, I want this one too. And then during the reign of William III, a lot of the original was destroyed. So this one is still around, but there aren't many rooms that are left. But there are some that are left that are Tudor period. So there's the Chapel Royal, the Great Watching Chamber. These are the actual names, guys. You watched the royal family dine. The Great Hall, and then the Haunted Gallery. So, the Haunted Gallery, when Catherine Howard was being investigated initially, she was put under house arrest in her apartments at Hampton, and she at one point escaped the apartments and ran down the gallery to beg Henry to talk to her. And it's reported that her ghost still shows up, and you can hear running footsteps and see a ghostly figure running through the hall.
Huh.
So that's supposed to be Catherine Howard. Hampton Court contained pleasure gardens. I don't think they're the prostitute kind of pleasure gardens.
Damn.
There's also tennis courts, bowling alleys, and a hunting park.
Do they have the life-size people chess? Or is that a French thing?
Do they have the what?
You play chess but with real people.
Oh, wait, no, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Probably. Henry was weird. So, you guys know how Henry was like adorable and whenever he signed his letters, he wrote like their initials in a heart with Anne Boleyn.
Right, because he's
so
a high
corny.
school kid.
It gets better.
Oh, no.
Was this our Henry fact?
Yeah. No. Our Henry facts. You'll know our Henry facts.
Okay.
Henry had the initials of him and Catherine engraved on their bed, woven into tapestries, and carved into the ceiling, because ceiling design was kind of really important back then. So the initials HK were everywhere. And then he met Anne, and so he did HA. So like ha 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 was just written all over the ceiling. It looked like fucking Jared Leto had been there. And it was like, hold on, picture Jared Leto as medieval jester Joker.
She was his queen.
All work and no play makes Henry a dull boy.
So when
That's a movie I want to see.
I would watch
The
it.
Shining mixed up with
The Tudors.
like they're just snowed in one of the palaces and Henry goes crazy. And you're like, oh no, it's some malevolent evil force. It's like, no, it's just Henry.
Nope, it really is just Henry.
That's just Henry.
And he's got the axe. He's trying to. It's all perfect.
It all works. Breaks into the thing. Here's Henry.
I like that.
Oh man, we need to get that image of the broken door with Henry's face just kind of.
I'm picturing it right now. So when Anne Boleyn was executed, he kind of had all of those removed and replaced with HJ. Like, yeah, he like couldn't be stopped, except he missed a couple, so you can actually still see HA engraved in the ceiling. You know what? Now that I think about it, I'm not sure if he actually did HJ. I'm pretty sure he did the initial thing a lot, but
I was gonna say at that point he's like, I just don't even care anymore.
I'm 100% sure he tried to remove every bit of evidence of Anne, and that included removing the ha 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 from the ceiling.
I like to imagine like his next wife would be like, what's this HA? And he looks at her, he's like, you got a problem with that? You wanna know what happened to
Well,
her?
if it was Jane, he would have been like, it's cool. I'm gonna marry another A next. So just like,
Wait, what?
don't worry about it, babe. It's cool. So that's Hampton Court, and you can actually go in there, which is amazing. I want to go. There's also Eltham, and that's where Henry VIII grew up. His children also lived there. I think it was just kind of where they sent the kids when they were young. Then there was St. James's Palace. Do you guys want to know what a dick was? Or how big of a dick Henry was? That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
You guys know what dicks are. Do you guys want to know how big of a dick Henry was?
How big?
He built St. James's Palace on the site of the Hospital of St. James. He's like, I'm going to take this too.
I thought you were about to say it was like on top of his grave or something like that.
No.
We buried
You know
it.
what?
We built it on top of the grave. It was kind of getting in the way, and it was starting to
I
stink.
didn't write that. Hold on. Now I have to double check this because I didn't write that. I didn't write that Henry built it. I just wrote that because he did build some. he did build some of it, and it's really funny because he built the Chapel Royal for his marriage to Anne of Cleves. And that didn't work out so good. Yeah. Hold on, St. James Palace gets better. Built by King Henry VIII on the site of a leper hospital.
You didn't remove the bodies.
Okay, I'm really glad I double checked that.
No
guys.
wonder castles and places like that are haunted all the time.
I'm fuck right. Also, St. James Palace also has the HA initials there. Henry was not very careful when removing those, I guess.
I'm just not visualizing. He's just like not even trying to carve it out. He's just putting like taping up like just posters over him.
Honey, what's with all this HA everywhere? He's like, well, I'm a funny guy, right?
I'm hilarious. Tell me I'm funny, Jane.
Even the castle thinks I'm funny.
Yeah, you're funny, honey.
So it was meant as a palace for Anne, but she was kind of beheaded before it was finished. So
Womp, womp,
Catherine
womp.
Parr was actually the first to see it used for a state occasion. Mary, oh, this is creepy. Mary the First, she died at St. James and her body was kept there for a month. That's not the creepy part. The creepy part is it said that her heart is buried under the Chapel Royal.
Huh.
And it's still
like Telltale Heart. You just still hear the thumping from
yeah.
under the stairs.
Yes. And it is still a royal residence, so it's not open to tours.
Huh.
Yeah. Creepy. Do you think like Duchess Kate is like someday she's gonna be in the Chapel Royal and she's gonna be like, what's that thumping noise?
This is sometimes fascinating to still think about how some of these old castles like that are still lived in by some people.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. So that was St. James Palace. I keep calling it St. James Place because of fucking Monopoly. And then he lived in Boardwalk, and he also lived in I don't know the other names. I just know St. James Place and Boardwalk. And then he said, go directly to jail.
Do not pass go, get directly beheaded.
So there was also Hatfield, and that's where Elizabeth spent her childhood. And here's a fun fact. When you had a royal baby, you got maybe 3 months with said royal baby before it was shipped off to its own household. So
I was just going to ask that. Yeah,
Yeah.
So were the kids were not really with the parents all that often?
No. They might have visited them. I mean, they did visit them, some more than others, but it was kind of just like a mother's job in those times was not to educate the children or to be directly involved in the
just
raising.
Just to crank them out.
Kind of just pop them out, and then royal.
Gotta keep that bloodline going.
Royal mothers, or noble women, but
Yeah.
they would pop them out and then say, "This is the governess I've chosen to have you educated," and they would have a say in the things they wanted you taught. Like Mary obviously had a much more religious upbringing than a Catholic religious upbringing than Elizabeth or Edward. And then Catherine Parr made sure Elizabeth had some Protestant-leaning tutors. So that was their role, was to make sure they got the right education. Women had a role they were able to say who their children could marry. Like it was thought like the women are able to arrange that, but mostly it would be the men who'd say, yeah, it's cool. Mm-hmm. So she was Elizabeth was sent to Hatfield at only 3 months old. So then there was Westminster Abbey, which is still standing, and there is a portion of the abbey that's living quarters. So it has been a coronation church since 1066, but construction began on it in 960. And in 1512 there was a fire there, so Henry moved to Greenwich Palace as his principal residence. So in Westminster Abbey, there have been 38 coronations, including Henry VIII, Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, and all of his children. And 17 monarchs have been buried there, plus Chaucer, Dickens, and Churchill, and more.
Really? Dickens is buried there?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's cool.
I was going to say Chaucer's buried there?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I would never guess, like, writers like that would have
I mean, you don't have to be royalty to be buried there. It's a religious home.
When did Chaucer exist? Like when was his
like 1200s, 1300s.
Oh wow, yeah.
1300s, I think.
I remember reading those books.
Born 1343, died on 1400.
Thank you. Yay. So the cool thing about the Westminster Abbey is the coronation chair there is the one that's been used since Edward III. That means Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII, Catherine of Aragon. So, like, I'm going to go stare at that chair whenever we go there.
So many people have sat on that chair.
Yeah. Okay.
So many bottoms.
So, let's move a little bit on to the construction. So, I told you how...
one more thing I want to ask.
Yeah.
How close were these places together? Were they spread pretty far all across England?
England's not big.
What's that?
England isn't big. So they were close, but not like next door to each other. Because they had acres and acres each to support hunting and stuff like that. Plus the whole court. I mean, the court consisted of like 1,500 people. Mm-hmm. So, and that might be an underestimate,
How
to be
often
honest.
would he actually stay in some of these places?
So that's actually what I wanted to get to. And actually, we'll skip to that. We'll go to construction last. Okay. So Henry saw...
One other thing I have a question about. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
So like, how close were like the palaces and castles to like the homes of the peasantry?
Oftentimes you always visualize it like there's the castle or a palace, and then like just a whole like little mini town city just kind of surrounding it.
Yeah, that's what
that
I. That
would be like a
head.
castle. There were. I don't honestly. I don't really know, but I would guess that they were not like right up close to each other. Like there was every castle or palace did have a village that kind of supported it. Like it gave it its food and all that stuff.
So it would be fairly close.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I would imagine castles being much closer to like villages, but then palaces being kind of more secluded.
Yeah, I feel like palaces are more like their way of getting away from.
Kind of, but Whitehall was in the middle of London.
Huh.
And you always see in like medieval fiction and stuff, like there's like a castle and then the village all surrounding the castle. It's all very, very like dense, and then there's like like it's all walled in.
So let's talk a little bit about like how Henry stayed at these places. So there was this thing called the Summer Progress, and it actually was from August to October, but that was like the better time to go during English seasons. So they would go on Progress, and it would be about half the court, so it'd still be about 750 people, and they would travel, and it would be Henry's way of like doing PR. It was the royalty way of doing PR. You would get out, your people would see you, they'd say, hey, I love you, all that shit. And in like 1535 it was hugely important, because that was how Henry was like, hey, Anne Boleyn is now your queen, accept it, love her, yada yada yada. So they were very PR based. So in June they would publish a list of the names of the guests they would take on the Summer Progress and their itinerary. So they'd be saying, hey, we're going to chill right here.
It's a little Henry the Rubber Ducky.
was adorable. So they'd go on summer progress.
Sorry, I completely ruined the show just to show you guys this picture of a rubber ducky with a beard and a hat.
That's okay. We'll publish it on Facebook so our fans know who to blame. So they'd go on the summer progress, and Henry would sometimes stay at his places, one of his 55 fucking manors, except most of the time he would go to other noblemen's and courtiers' homes. So it was a huge honor, but it was extensively expensive because these courtiers had to pay to support all of the people who were coming with them. So the length of the stay depended on size, the splendor, and the convenience of the residence. But here's a really funny story. Nicholas Points was a nobleman or courtier who Henry VIII was going to stay with. And instead of just being like, okay, I'll fix up the apartments, he built an entirely new wing on his house in anticipation of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn staying there. And they were there for 2 days. When they moved to palaces, every palace or castle or home wasn't just automatically stocked with everything. They would actually take furniture and clothes and plate and bedding with them. Just because it was ridiculous to have 55 different beds for one person, unless you're Henry. So the reason they would move is for hygienic purposes and because the villages would run out of food. So with so many people living together, it would get really funky, especially with the way toiletry was used back then. So there were flushing toilets, but not everybody at court had access to the flushing toilet. You might just have a privy closet, which was a hole, and shit would get built up in the walls. So there was a guy whose job was to literally go through these shit chutes and clean them out.
It's like a chimney sweep, but with poop.
Yeah. So they did move pretty frequently. I couldn't find out how much. They did have some primary residencies, but it'd be okay, well, I'll stay at Greenwich for 3 months. And during that 3 months, I might decide I want to go to one of my smaller private homes for some personal alone time or whatever. And he would go to one of those for a week or two at a time. Don't quote me on those times. I know they did stay at some places months at a time, but you really didn't stay too long because you gotta clean out the shit chutes. Got it?
Got it.
Clean the poops.
Clean out the poops. Okay, so now I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit how this stuff was built. So
Hebrew slaves.
Yes.
And wizards.
Wizards. There were wizards. Tim
and aliens.
Tim the wizard.
Wizard aliens.
Tim the wizard and Bob the alien. So construction kind of took off in this time because a lot of the noblemen during the Plantagenet times had been kind of demolished by the wars. And so there were a lot of courtiers who were up and coming who didn't have a ton of land, but Henry VIII made them wealthy by just being here's lots of money and here's a land that you get a lot of income from your tenants and stuff. So there was a ton of building going on that time. And then on top of that, whenever he shut down one of the monasteries, he'd give that land away. So big boon in construction. Now, when I tell you guys how these houses were made, you will not be surprised that there are so few and far between now. These houses were made of. So first they made, what is this? There was a stone foundation and wood was the main component of the house. So they do a frame of timber and they would add a chimney, and the chimney was apparently a big deal then because they used to have one great room that would get heated and they'd hope the smoke got into other rooms to heat them up. But the chimney allowed the smoke to be directed to different areas. So it could warm up different areas and you could have multiple fireplaces and all that stuff. Then they would do walls of wattle. What is a wattle, you might ask?
Wattle is, I think, mud and stone? Or
I know what you're thinking
dirt
of.
And stone.
I know.
What?
No.
It's like cement.
Wattle is intertwined sticks.
That's what it is. Damn it.
Daub is what you're thinking of, and it is a mix.
Yes, it is.
Tell me the 3 ingredients in daub.
Is it clay, stone, and mud?
You got clay right.
Sand?
Yeah, Jeff got sand. The last one's the best.
I don't know.
Dung.
Of course it is.
Yes.
Would be.
So they'd put the wattle in the wall, or they'd make the walls of wattle, and then they'd smear it with the daub, and then they'd lime wash it to hide the color, and then they'd put timber wood, or on top of the timber wood they'd cover it in tar to waterproof it. So that's why Tudor house style is what it is, where it's got the dark wood with the white underneath. It's because it was lime wash with tar covering the wood. The roofs were mostly thatch, but some wealthier ones would have tile, and mostly had dirt floors. Sometimes they'd be covered in reeds. The royals might put, what's it called? A special kind. Maybe it is just reeds. They'd put reeds on the ground, and they'd be swept up and replaced pretty regularly because they could afford to. They did have windows. They had small glass panels. They couldn't create big ass ones. So that's why Tudor windows are what they are. And then they all kind of followed the same plan when they were made. The manors kind of there was a central courtyard, and then the rooms were built around that courtyard. So it would include a great hall, a bedroom for the lady, 2 parlors, a private dining room, a study, and then the other bedrooms. The ceiling would be ornamented, and then they went all out with the kitchen, because the kitchen included not only the kitchen but 2 larders, a pantry, a pastry room, a wine cellar, a cheese room, a fish house, a scouring house, a bake house, and a hop house. Oh. Yeah.
Huh.
That sounds wonderful.
I mean, it'd be pretty cool. So that's construction.
Quick question about construction.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it would take to build one of
No.
these things on average?
No,
or?
and I was trying to find that. I was trying so hard to find that, and I couldn't. I think it just depended on the house and what was being done to it, and whether something existed in
And
the
the
first
amount of
place.
probably workers or help they had within
Yeah.
the area.
I don't think it was.
And the people making these houses, where would they fall in the social? Hold on.
Probably one of the lower classes.
Hold on.
Somebody having sex. That dog sounds like it's getting humped.
Or it's humping.
That's what he does every day.
It sounds
where
like it's
was I?
humping. You asked how long it took.
The
to build.
social class.
So the people who would build these houses, would they be people nobility or
they'd be
peasantry? I would
brick
assume?
workers. So they wouldn't be as wealthy as a merchant. They'd probably be closer to the peasantry.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tradesman. So they actually did have brick workers and masonries.
Masonry.
So they do masonry.
But I'm sure that'd be a big get. Oh man, we get to make this castle for the king. He's gonna pay us well.
I don't know. I don't know if he paid him well.
No.
I don't know. I don't like.
It's
Think
probably
of
hey,
the people
I'm
who
your
made the
king,
Death Star.
Make me this house. I will chop your head off if you don't.
Yeah.
That
So it's
probably
like making
happened.
it's like making the Death Star.
No, I think it's a little less worse than making the Death Star. I don't think they knew enough about the political climate to. I mean, if you're a stormtrooper, you probably have a. I don't know. Are we talking the originals? Are we talking about the clones? Or are we talking about. No, we're not talking about the stormtroopers. We're
Build
talking
me a
about the construction
palace
workers.
that I can blow up France with.
If you're a construction worker working on the Death Star, unless you are a clone stormtrooper, which you wouldn't have been because they didn't have the clones, you would be aware of the political climate. So you are making a choice to, build a monster weapon.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new podcast, Vader. I hardly know her. That would be a nice little mini-series. We talk about the royalty in the Star Wars world.
Jeff could do that.
Oh my God, I would love
Yeah.
that.
So anyway,
Literally every spin-off show that we're going to do is going to be a pun
duh.
on this, which is a pun.
So, I don't think that they knew too much about the political climate just because it was harder to get information back then. So,
Anyway.
Do you have any other questions before I get to our Henry VIII fun fact?
Let me think a bit.
See, I'm sure each castle and palace had its own like unique layout and amount of rooms and things like that. It just kind of depends on how it was planned to be used. Because I'm sure not every castle was like, oh, it has 40 rooms and all these things. It was probably more like, this one has a big, great hall meant for holding large amounts of people for events.
Yeah.
This one's smaller for like, oh, this is where my daughter lives there, or I go out that way when I'm not,
Plus, they'd have like each
my leave.
It'd be like they'd have apartments too. It wouldn't be like you get a bedroom. It's here's your bedroom plus your privy room plus your privy closet plus your prayer room. And then there'd be, even for the servants, like it'd be like, here's a place for the servants to sleep, and
would they often move from place to place? Depends on just like what he had to go visit someone, or is it like a seasonal thing?
Summer progress would be seasonal. You don't want to travel in winter. They would travel to avoid the plague. They would travel for political reasons, so to meet people, to
like
oversee.
You said, he would stay often at people that wasn't even like his own home. He was guest to homes.
He would travel to meet other royals. He was supposed to meet King James V, and then James V was like, I'm not coming. And at the same time, Catherine of Howard was like, I am coming, but not with you. So thank you. So that was a bad time for our man Hank. So
oh man.
Anything else?
I'm still trying to think. Did we really talk about the secret passages?
I mean, I didn't research too much into it, but I just know that they exist.
Okay.
And were there like, did he use like a lot of the same people who design it, or would he have just like each one was designed by a different person? Like was there really much of like an architecture?
That's what I was going to ask.
See,
thank you, Jeff.
I think he would try and design some of them his own. Like Nonesuch was his.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whenever he made change, he added to a property, which was usually what he did. It was his, but there'd probably be different architects. Like Hans Holbein was his favorite painter, but it wasn't his only painter.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably like that with his architect.
I'm always just fascinated because, I mean, you always see like certain trends in architecture from different periods when they're building various.
Yeah, but if you think about it, the Tudor architectural design came from a sense of need, not.
Yes.
Not. I mean, it did come from aesthetics. Like bricks were a sign of your wealth, so that's why like Hampton Court being covered in brick is like whoa.
I imagine with Nonesuch Palace that whoever he had build that for him, he killed them immediately after.
Just like the Taj Mahal.
Only I shall know the secret. Ooh, that reminds me. There's a serial killer called H.H. Holmes. Not H.J.
Yeah,
Wells.
that guy.
So H.H. Holmes built a murder castle in Chicago in the 1800s, and he was it late 1800s or early 1900s? Whatever. This isn't a murder podcast, so I'm allowed to be wrong about it. He built a murder castle, and what would happen is he would get somebody to start building it. He'd be like, I will pay you later. I am a reliable, upstanding citizen. And then he'd fire them, and that before they had completed anything, and he wouldn't pay them. And then after a couple months, when the mayhem had died down from that, he'd hire another architect, and he would say, hey, can you please continue working on this? This needs to happen. This needs to happen. This needs to happen. He'd fire that guy without paying him. Then a couple months later, he would do it again. So in the end, he was the only one who knew everything about his murder castle.
I remember hearing about that from that educational TV show, Hellevator.
I hate you for mentioning that fucking show's name. If anybody watches Hellevator, stop listening to my podcast. I do not endorse it.
If you listen to Hellevator, or if you watch Hellevator, you're cool in my book.
No, you're going to hell in the Hellevator with Garrett.
Didn't that day we were watching Hellevator, we watched Devil like right after?
Yeah, I think so. We're cool.
Ooh, anyway.
All right.
So yeah, I think I've gleaned all the knowledge I can from you.
Okay.
Gleaned.
Glean with an N.
Gleaned.
N.
Glean. That's
I
what
got
I
one
said.
more question. How often do castles actually have to deal with battle? Obviously during Henry, he didn't really deal with any.
Not during. Because
castles were built
I don't
for
know
battle
of any during the
a lot
Tudor.
Of the times.
I don't know of any during the Tudor times. The Tower of London was attacked a couple times during the Plantagenet reign, but I don't know too much about exactly what happened with it.
Because I mean, you would see. I remember, like, I think it was in high school or junior high, I would learn about some castle architecture, like the amount of creativity they went into for like defense on a castle.
That's
like,
pretty cool.
Like the narrow slits in
Arrow
the walls
slit.
for arrows shooting through. Dump the hot tar on people and they're coming up to the door.
The turrets, all that stuff.
When Henry was taking over those churches and like religious buildings, he was just like kicking people out. Did anybody ever resist, and did things ever get bloody?
No.
No.
Because if you resisted him, I mean, like there was the pilgrimage of the Grace, and it wasn't like Henry himself was going out there with a sword. He was like, Cromwell, go do your shit.
Yes, master.
And then
Cromwell. Yes, does what you say.
Yeah. Fucking Palpatine was apparently Cromwell, guys.
Good, Henry.
The way you talk about him and his last name make it seem like he is Palpatine.
He's pretty evil.
He has a very villain name.
Cromwell?
I am Cromwell.
You guys want to know why?
Yeah, like Cromwell.
There were a lot of evil English Cromwells.
Well, a lot of British villains.
No, just like apparently the name Cromwell makes you evil.
Yep.
So are you ready, Garrett?
My favorite part of the show.
Would you rather hear about a codpiece or a mace pistol?
You know what I'm going to go for first.
The codpiece?
Actually, you know what? Let's start with the mace pistol first because I think that we'll get way more out of the codpiece. Like, let's save the best for last.
Actually, I think you're going to get more about the mace pistol, but I'll start with it.
Oh, shit. You start with what you want to start with.
Okay, I'll do the mace pistol. Henry had a mace pistol. It was a pronged mace that concealed 3 gun barrels.
Okay, when you say mace, you're talking about a thing you bludgeon someone with.
The ball
was
with
thinking, like,
pointy
pepper spray.
things.
Nope, he had a fucking mace bludgeoning pistol. And he apparently...
This is way better.
He wandered... This is the good part. He wandered London... According to one website, he would wander London at night brandishing his mace pistol to see if his constables were doing their job. And then, one night, he gets fucking arrested. And he spends the night in prison. So the guy who arrested him was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get so beheaded. And Henry was like, good job. And then he made sure the men he'd spent the night with in prison got extra coal and bread.
I'm just visualizing, like, how can I make the bayonet better?
With this knife and this gun, I could make a knife gun.
So how does that work? Was it just like a gun that just shot out a mace?
No, it was
That
a
would be
mace
really cool.
that shot bullets. It was
So-
picture a mace.
It was like
Picture the ball
close
with the
combat
spikes.
weapon.
Picture the ball with spikes. And
He's
then
like a Final
elongate it.
Fantasy character.
Picture the ball with spikes and then stretch it out in your mind. And so now it's a long, spiky tube thing. And it's got 3 gun barrels in it. So you can smash someone with it.
Then shoot them later.
And shoot them 3 times.
The fact
That
he
is
had
just
3
the
barrels
gunblade
too.
from Final Fantasy.
Oh my gosh.
Now I know the mace gun exists. I don't know how true the spending the night in jail. That sounds like a Bradley Cooper movie.
Okay, I'm looking up mace gun.
Look it up. You won't be disappointed. It's crazy.
All right, I got mace gun. Henry VIII.
I don't even know.
Okay, hold on. This thing's beautiful.
Hold on, Jeff.
It looks like one of those like old timey grenades.
Yeah. Here, Jeff. Oh. Load, fucker. That's amazing.
Oh, here's an axe gun.
Okay, now I actually have to pee. I want to pee my pants.
Oh my God, axe gun's great.
This thing's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It looks like a video game weapon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Ooh, sword gun.
Okay, guys. I think we can stop looking up the extra
I just
gun
like the
weapons.
game
No.
of like gun
Jeff,
plus.
have you seen axe gun yet?
Oh, I'm looking at that one right now. That was
axe
badass.
gun's great. There's key gun.
What? What's a key gun? Like,
Hey,
It's
you
a
never
key
played
gun.
Kingdom Hearts?
oh God.
It took a gritty reboot direction.
What the fuck?
We'll have to post a picture of this. On
Yeah,
our-
guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, on to.
Second Henry fact. Do you guys want me to save this till next week?
Wait, hold on. Apparently, it was also a walking stick.
No. He called it his walking stick.
Oh.
Yeah.
My really pointy walking stick.
Yeah. Okay, put your phones down.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about the cod
Yes.
piece?
I guess.
Put your phone
Is it-
down.
I don't know if it can be as good as Mace Gun.
I mean,
Though.
it's still pretty funny.
Okay.
So you know how Henry liked having huge cod pieces?
Yes, I remember that one picture
Mhm.
our fans sent to us.
One
That thing was glorious.
was at the end of his life, he started using cod pieces so large that he ended up using them as extra storage, like a pocket. And he would put, I'm not kidding, jewels, other valuables, and small weapons in his cod piece.
I thought you were going to say small animals.
Well, how else am I going to get the gerbil out?
Okay, I think history is just being kind to him. He had to have stored food down there.
Let me pull out this turkey leg.
Yeah, he just whips out a turkey leg. So, those are my Henry VIII fun facts of the week.
It's nature's pocket.
I
just love the idea that he
Jeff,
stores jewels in there, and he, like, a big fat gross man sees a really hot young girl, and he reaches in his pants and he pulls out a diamond, and he goes,
And the woman's like,
He goes,
police,
"Here you go,
police." He's like,
beautiful.
no, my dear. I'm just grabbing some jewels for you. He's like, oh, no, police, police. He's like, no, really, look.
These are my family jewels.
so
Jeff, we need to
guys,
bring the cod piece back.
please no, please no. No.
Don't all the
All right,
sports people wear those though?
Those
They
are cups,
enhance-
and they protect you from getting kicked in the balls.
Sure.
When Emily puts this episode out and plasters it all over Facebook, everyone listen to this episode and then come back and let us know what you think about bringing back the cod piece.
cod
Let
piece,
us hear your thoughts about the cod
hashtag
piece.
cod piece yes.
Look, if
cod
male
piece,
rompers,
no.
if male rompers are a thing, then I think a cod piece is
Yeah,
much
like,
better.
screw the romper. Cod pieces are where it's at.
Cod piece, cod piece,
Cod piece.
cod
Better
piece.
than a romper. Oh my God, I'm very upset.
Go on.
I follow a thing called Weird History, and I don't know who writes it. Apparently, idiots. But they're just so blunt. So, like, I was just looking at Facebook, and they've got one. They've got one about Henry VIII. They have a lot about Henry VIII, but this one is, the headline is, Henry VIII divorced his fourth wife because she was, quote unquote, so ugly he couldn't get hard.
Yeah, that's the common rumor I always heard about that
I mean,
one.
it's not a rumor. We talked about it. Like, he was like, look, she doesn't turn me on and I can't get hard, but I'm still capable of getting hard because I have wet dreams.
She's so
Remember?
ugly, she fell out the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down.
I'm just upset about how blunt it is. I, like, got ragey the other day because the day we posted the Jane Boleyn episode, I was just scrolling through Twitter and somebody shared an article saying that Jane Boleyn is a bitch. And, like, it was meant to be defensive like our episode was of Jane Boleyn, but I'm like, you can't call her a bitch. Like, your whole headline makes it seem like she's a terrible person, and you know people only read the headlines. So why are you going to do that? It kind of got me a little history ragey. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Okay.
So, as we learned today, castles, Henry had a lot. Mace gun,
Exactly. So
that's a TLDR for this episode.
You had to listen to the whole thing to get the TLDR, but that's what it is.
That should be what our descriptions are in the
okay
in the podcast.
You got it.
TLDR, a lot of castles.
Precisely. So, until next time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Emily. How can these fine people find us?
Twitter and Facebook. Facebook is Tudor I Hardly Know Her. Twitter is simply Tudor Know Her. So reach out to us with questions and suggestions. We've gotten a ton of requests to do an episode on Margaret Beaufort, so you better... Well, we didn't get a ton of requests. I suggested it, and everybody's on that train. So it's going to happen. I don't
know who that is.
That's the point.
It's Henry VIII's grandmother.
Okay.
So it won't be next week, but it'll be in the next couple weeks. So look forward to that, guys. And suggest episodes to us. Oh, one of our newer listeners has also requested that we do another episode where we watch the Tudors and like critique it and make fun of it.
Oh yeah, because I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, so we should do that again.
We'll have to do that when I'm actually in town.
Yeah. So
Correct.
Garrett, come visit. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Okay.
Anything else? Any other housekeeping we need to do, or anything you
Nope.
want to bring up?
That is all.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
Until next time.
Until next time. Divorced, beheaded, died.
Divorced, beheaded, survived.
Survived.
Mariska Hargitay.
Oh God. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.